This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत।
ये है भारत FM।
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत।
दोस्तों नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल, वड़क्कम, वेलकम। आप सभी देख रहे हैं और सुन रहे हैं भारत एफएम। और भारत एफएम के इस श्रृंखला में जिसका के नाम है रूबरू, जो यूजुअली हमारा एक स्पेसिफिक सेगमेंट सैटरडे को हुआ करता था, बट क्योंकि हमारे जो गेस्ट्स हैं वो ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड से हैं, तो हमने ये डिसाइड किया कि अब इस सेगमेंट को हम ऑन अ नीड बेसिस, ऑन द कन्वीनियंस ऑफ द गेस्ट, उसके हिसाब से हम इसको रखेंगे। तो उसी वजह से आज on Monday 11 a.m. Eastern time we are having this segment of Rubaru, and today who we have on our show is Mr. Vivek Verma, all the way from Bulgaria. तो इससे पहले कि हम हमारा कार्यक्रम शुरू करें, मैं विवेक जी के बारे में कुछ कहना चाहूंगा। So let me tell you a little bit about Vivek. Born and brought up in New Delhi, architect by profession, married to a Bulgarian national, and currently living in Sofia, Bulgaria. By nature, Vivek is a very curious person, always engaged in something that excites him. He has had many passions throughout his life. His motto in life is free your soul. We all have limitations being in the physical body, but soul has infinite capabilities and yearnings. If we listen to it carefully, all limitations can be overcome. Everything he does is to liberate himself and to add a positive value. Architecture, singing, cooking, astrology, and spirituality are the fields in which he is engaged. Vivek has been learning and practicing Vedic astrology since 25 years and part of one of the biggest groups on Vedic astrology with more than 100,000 members. During his stay in Bulgaria, he noticed that in spite of having better life conditions than third world countries, people are discontent with their lives, unhappy, and suffering from many illnesses. He started to find out why. Soon he found many answers. It is said when student is ready, the teacher appears. He came in contact with many such people who have understood this and were tuned to the universe much better than others. It led him to start a group called Spiritualism, Body, Mind, and Soul on Facebook, which is a platform for sharing topics such as spiritualism, philosophy, personal development, yoga, health and wellness, diet, Ayurveda, meditation, mythology, ancient scriptures, and environment and nature. There are members from 34 countries. During pandemic and being in home all the time, he started an online weekly chat show called The Tree of Life, which is in some way an extension of the group, where his friends who are silently doing something that is adding a positive value to the universe are invited and given a platform and share their knowledge with the viewers. Vivek is also a founding member of Association India in Bulgaria, which unites all Indians and PIOs living on the territory of Bulgaria. Every morning when he gets up, he asks himself, what is the purpose of my life? Beyond the usual work to earn to spend, etc. kind of thing. The answer is same every day. To add a positive and meaningful value in everyone's life that he touches, whether they are his family, friends, clients, colleagues, society, country, or universe. Astrology and spirituality have helped him in understanding the blueprint of his life. Going forward, he wants to help more people in understanding their purpose of life and help them to lead a healthy, happy, and meaningful life by adopting healthy lifestyle and spiritual practices. Vivek dreams to create a global platform in both physical and virtual worlds, and bring experts and knowledge to the people to help them achieve a life in harmony and union with universe. So with that introduction, welcome Vivek.
Thank you, Ashish, brother, for very nice introduction.
Well,
And
you're just doing such an amazing job, and I wanted to make sure that our listeners and our viewers completely know all the different wonderful work that you are doing.
so, Ashish bhai, before we start, let me give my greetings to our viewers and listeners. Uh, Good morning to people in US and good evening to all the people watching and listening us in Europe and India. And it is my pleasure today to be on this show, Rubaru, and Rubaru with Ashish. And normally I'm on the other side, but
Yeah,
today
you're on the other
it
side.
depends, and I'm on the other side.
Right, right.
Great.
Thank
Over to
you.
you.
Thank you, Vivek. And one more thing, I wanted to let our viewers on Facebook and YouTube know that if you have a question for Vivek or if you want to say something about Vivek, please use the comment section. We will receive them and we will try to make sure to accommodate them during the Rubaru session. So let's start with the show. So, Vivek, let's start with your childhood days. Where were you born? How was your childhood?
Ashish, I was born in New Delhi uh, in a very middle class family. My father has been a banker and my mother was a housewife. Both of them are highly educated. And the only thing I was born was with curiosity. Okay. So I still feel the same as I felt when an year old. So that was the one thing which I was born. And and we were in the joint family, and being the eldest child in a joint family, I got a lot of attention and pampering. And my parents have been very open and broad minded people. So in our house, there was a environment for questioning things, asking questions, and challenging the status quo. And my parents are very practical also. So they were not because they have seen a lot of things during partition. So they were like they have seen the life from very close quarters. So they gave us a platform where they provided the basic, the surrounding, and they were helping us, but they let us explore the world on our own.
So I have one question. You mentioned that you were curious right at the age of 1. What was that at the age of 1 that you were curious about?
How I know this, if I remember, I have seen many pictures of mine where I'm like looking like this, and what I can remember, like I don't remember exactly at very small age, but where my memory goes, I was always questioning uh, two things. First of all, I was extremely interested when I saw buildings. I never knew that I will later become an architect, but this was one thing. Second, I was trying to sing at a very young age, and I was also very curious, and I was also always wondering that what is this life? It will sound very strange, but I was sometimes imagining that maybe we are in some kind of a dream, which is this life, and it can happen that when we will open our eyes, we will find where we are somewhere else. This is the first question which I always had in my mind at a very, very, very young age.
Interesting. Very interesting. Nice. Okay. So this is very similar to, I don't know if you have seen the movie Matrix. That movie always fascinates me. And it makes me believe that what is being shown in the movie might be true. Who knows? You never know. So you were talking about your childhood days, and you mentioned that you have always been curious. Anything from your childhood days that you remember, which has stuck in your mind forever? I mean, even today, it is that one incident. Sometimes you have that one incident in your head that never goes away, and it basically defines you who you are. Anything like that that you would want to share with our viewers?
I cannot say one incident. There can be many. I have a good memory, and so I have many incidents. And if you say the life evolving incident, so this was at a very young age. Let's say I was 7 years old, and I had a birthday. And one of my cousin, who was let's say 18 years elder to me, he gifted me a present, Amar Chitra Katha, a book called Swami Vivekanand.
Nice.
Okay, I remember I was 8. It was my 8th birthday, and I read it once. I hardly understood anything. Okay, it was a comic made for this age group only. Then I asked him some question. He said, "Oh, you will understand. You go through it again." So I read it couple of times, and I still remember that this was one life evolving thing which I read at that age. It led in my subconscious mind, some things got registered. So that time I didn't know what is the value, what I'm reading, how it is going to affect me. But now I can relate after so many years. But that is one thing I remember, which I call not life changing, but life evolving incident.
I see. Thank you. So, how were you as a kid? शैतान थे, बदमाशी करते थे या चुपचाप बैठते थे?
No, I was talkative.
Okay.
And I used to sing. I mean, trying singing, and but generally I was a very serious person. I liked solitude, and so you can say it was difficult for me to actually interact with many people. I find it very good and the best when I'm alone. Okay, in the house. So that's what my place. I want to be in the house. But when it comes to conversation, I love having one-to-one conversations. Okay. So shaitan sabhi hote hain, but I was not like this who were breaking things or whatever. I was exploring things on different platform.
अच्छे किस्म के शैतान थे आप.
Now you can say so, but I think my parents can answer this better.
That is true. Right. So from your childhood days, the kind of friends that you make, I mean, this is my personal belief that the friends that you make in your childhood days, they stick in your head forever. And those are like the very strong bonding that you have with friends. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't make friends later in life, but childhood friends is something, it has a special place in your life. So do you have a couple of friends or maybe one friend, I don't know, who has stayed with you in your thick and thin every single time?
Unfortunately, it didn't happen like this to me. I never made very close friends in childhood. And there are many reasons. First, my father was in a transferable job. So we were just moving from, place to place. Then we were changing houses. And so in one house, we were living 3 years, 4 years. That's it. And that time there were and we were not even only moving in Delhi. So we went to other places also. So those times there were no telephones, like it was not very common everybody to have a phone or mobiles or emails. So it was extremely difficult to find people later. Once you are moved on, you are moved on. Okay. So the friends which I'm really in touch with are my school friends, the high school in Delhi. So those are the people who I'm still in touch with, and we have a very thick bonding.
Very nice. Okay. What were your favorite subjects during your childhood days? I mean, what were you very fascinated with? I mean, architecture, you already mentioned that was something, buildings was something, but then from the school days, I'm assuming, was it physics?
Yeah, I loved mathematics. And one reason is that because my father was very good at maths. And he taught me mathematics at a very young age, especially commercial mathematics. Being a banker, he was very good at it. So he gave me these, till class 10th, he used to help me in mathematics. And so mathematics became one of my favorite subjects. And then, of course, physics. And because my parents are from the humanities background, so we had an environment of this literature and all these things in our house. So I also loved, I was very good at Hindi.
Okay.
And I, after 10th, I also contemplated not to go in sciences as everybody was planning to go. I also thought that because I loved Hindi as a language and literature and poetry that time. So I thought of going to that side also, but people convinced me that you should take sciences. The more opportunities will be there, plus you want to become an architect. So that's how I went there. But mathematics, you can say, was one of my most favorite subjects in school.
Very nice. Okay. तो अब है थोड़ा आपके बचपन से थोड़ा बाहर निकल के, let's move out of your childhood. And where did you do your college?
Yeah, so I would I know how you are sequencing the whole conversation. So I would like to divide my whole life journey in, let's say, 5 important stages. So
Mhm.
first stage we have already discussed, when you are actually in a very comfortable nest made by your parents, and they are always there to help you and hold your hand. So the next stage was when I finished my school. And as I wanted to become an architect, and as luck had it, I was very fortunate to get through in one of the best colleges of architecture in India. It's called School of Planning and Architecture. It is in Delhi. And I went to the hostel, and that is a very, very important stage of my life. These 5 years which I spent in college gave me a lot of lessons and learnings apart from architecture. So, first of all, my college, it has a philosophy. Every institution is famous for some kind of a philosophy. It was not like some ordinary college. So the school of thought was like modern architecture. Modern architecture is actually an international movement, and our college was famous for that. So all the teachers who were there, they were not mere teachers, they were actually institutions in themselves. They were all big practicing architects who used to visit us and guide us and teach us. So in that way, I was very fortunate to get admitted to this school. So it's very interesting that though I always wanted to become an architect, and when I got admitted, after the first week, let's say our session started on 1st August. So on last day of the week, which is Friday, I thought that though it's one thing to have a desire to become an architect, but it is another thing to go through this whole course, which is a very challenging course.
Okay.
And I almost thought of giving up
In a week itself.
in a week itself. And imagine, it was my dream, and I thought it is so difficult. And even my parents wanted that it's why to take such a difficult course, and I almost thought that I should give up. And I told this to one of my seniors, and I don't remember the name of this person. He said okay, and he took me to the library. This is a very, very life changing incident for me.
Yes, it is. I know.
And he took a book out from a shelf, and he brought to the table, and this book was called Falling Water. Ashish, if you know, and for the knowledge of our viewers, Falling Water is a name given to a house which is the most photographed house in the world. It's a personal house, and it is situated in the state of Pennsylvania in US.
Okay.
And it is designed by the legendary architect of 20th century, Mr. Frank Lloyd Wright. The important thing about the most interesting thing about this house is that it is situated on top of a waterfall.
Oh,
Okay, and it is a mecca for all architects. Okay, so when I saw that book images, and it ignited a fire in me, and I thought, this is what architecture is. That's how you can add value. And my dream became more than my pain at that moment.
wow.
And I gave up the idea of giving up architecture. And I said, no matter what, even if I take 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, I will, no matter what will happen, I will become architect.
Very nice. Anisha
Okay.
Singh is saying that I have seen Falling Water. It is beautiful. So she already mentioned that.
Yeah. So that was one life-changing incident, and where I learned a very important lesson of my life, that when your dream is bigger than your pain, then you achieve your dreams and goals. But in life, it happens. Sometimes your pain is bigger than your dream. Sometimes your dream is bigger than your pain.
Yeah.
So it depends, whichever force takes you over, you end up doing that.
That is true. I agree.
Okay, so this is the first lesson I learned. And then within the first year, let's say after 6 months or so it was very challenging. In our college, many architects used to visit and share their work, the legendary architects. So one architect named Mr. Raj Rewal, he he's one of the most famous architects in the country, and he has designed the most important buildings in 70s, 80s, 90s, and he visited and he gave a presentation of his works. And when I saw his work, so again I got very first of all I got impressed, and second I got influenced. So I also learned three things during my college, that there are three processes. When you meet somebody, either you can get impressed,
Mhm.
then second stage you get influenced, and third stage is you get inspired.
Mhm.
Okay.
Very well
And-
said. Very well
And
said.
it happens the other way also. I can meet somebody, I can impress somebody, or I can influence, or I can inspire.
Right.
So there I got really influenced and impressed, and I started treating him as my guru.
Mm.
Then I moved forward. I took a lot of lessons from him. I will not go in detail what I learned from him. That is not very important, but that was also a very important stage of my life. Then in my third year of college, uh, we used to make actually annual trips where in winter holidays, where all the batches of our college, they used to go somewhere in the country and do some group study. So in our third year, we went to Kerala. So in Kerala, our teachers organized a meeting with a legendary architect called Laurie Baker. Now, let me give a brief background. Mr. Baker was a British architect, and he fought in World War II. And while going back, he passed through India, and he happened to hear one speech of Mahatma Gandhi, and he decided to stay in India.
Mm.
So he stayed there, and first in some other city, then he came to Kerala. And in Kerala, he designed thousands of buildings for poor people and also very rich people, but at a very low cost. He developed how to do housing for at a very low cost using the local material, especially brick, and he created a whole aesthetics out of brick.
Mm.
And he is known as in the architectural fraternity, he is known as Mahatma Gandhi of sustainable architecture.
Okay.
This is how he's known as, and he's no more. But that meeting with him, I spent 3 hours in his house, and that was another stepping stone. I got so much of values from him,
Mm.
which are still with me. And when I think about this incident, I still feel each and every word resonating in my ears, what he told. He was such a simple man, and the kind of work he created for poorest of poor people, that was truly remarkable. So there, I got inspired, not influenced, not impressed. I got inspired. Inspired means that in my buildings, I didn't copy his brick or his thing, but I carried the philosophy.
Mm.
And the philosophy is whatever you do in life as an architect or some other policymaker or whatever, unless your knowledge and your decisions help and think about the people at the lowest pyramid of social strata, it is of no use.
Agree. Mhm.
Okay, so this was one philosophy which I took. So if today I have to design a house or a shirt, let's say, or a textile, or I don't do a textile, but I'm just giving example that if I have to design something, I will always think how it is going to impact the people who are at the lowest level. But if I'm doing a personal project, then also I will push a lot of philosophy which I carried. So I never copied him. I never was copied the outside shell of his projects, but I was truly inspired.
Very nice.
Okay. And then by the time we went to the finals, I got again very much inspired by another architect. It's called Charles Correa. It's an Indian architect. He's also no more at the moment, but he had I spent a lot of time in library, and I went through all the books which he has written or people have written about him. and I saw what kind of designs he created. And normally in modern architecture, it is said that form follows function, but he said climate follows function. So any building, if you design in Delhi or you design in Goa or Bombay or in US, the primary factor which will define the shape of the building will be the climate.
Mm.
So there also I didn't take the elements, but I took the philosophy. So of course I'm not doing the kind of works which he did, but the philosophy remained. So whatever I apply, so all these people like Falling Water, Mr. Reval, Laurie Baker, Charles Correa, so all this philosophy which I gathered in my college, I'm carrying in my heart. And they actually made me the kind of person I later became in my life. So then I finished my school, and you have to do an internship and you have to join an office. So I was very fortunate to work with an architect called Jasbir Sachdev, is a legendary architect in Delhi. He was a disciple of Le Corbusier and worked on Chandigarh project, very old at that time. But the 2 years which I spent, he was very fond of me. And 2 years, what I spent with him, I learned how to become a seasoned and competent professional. So I worked, and so these are and then during that period, when I was working with him, I was obviously reading a lot of books. So another architect who inspired me a lot, his name is Mr. B.V. Doshi, who also received, I think a couple of years ago, the sort of Nobel Prize in Architecture.
Wow.
He's the only Indian architect. So these 5-6 people, actually the architects, inspired me and gave me the philosophy which I am carrying still till now. So this is all about, there's nothing else to talk about my profession.
No,
So
I was about to say that you explained it so well. I mean, you went in a sequence and you explained it very nicely. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing that journey of your life, which was college and the people whom you got inspired with. So this was which year, like 93? 93.
From 1989, I joined college and I finished in 94. 93, I finished, and training part 1 year, 6 months, and then 2 years of working. So this whole period, what I'm telling is 7-year period from 1989 to 1996.
Okay. So after graduating from the college, you worked in India. Was it Delhi or somewhere
Delhi.
else?
I've always lived in Delhi. Yeah.
Okay. So how long did you work in Delhi?
I was in Delhi till 2013.
Oh, wow. Okay. But you always stayed in Delhi. Like work-wise, you never moved out of Delhi.
No, but I was doing projects all over the country.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I was moving for work, but my base was in Delhi.
Okay. So while your stay in India, I'm not sure what your third stage of life is going to be. So I'm just asking you one question. While during your stay in India, in Delhi, while you were working as a professional architect, you already mentioned your first couple of years. Now, as far as your personal work is concerned, is there one, or maybe there is more than one, projects that you worked on which has really you feel proud of, and you will feel proud of every single work that you have done, but is there one or two or maybe more that has literally stayed in your heart?
Yeah, difficult. If you ask me what is the best project, I will tell the next one.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very nice.
But if you ask me the project which is very close to my heart, you can say 2 projects which were sort of my first independent projects. In 96, I decided to participate in a national open competition on my own while still in a job.
Nice.
And this competition was redevelopment of Shri Sai Baba temple complex in Shirdi.
Nice.
So it was a competition where you send your entry and there's a jury which is made of very eminent and professional architects, and then they decide who is the winner. So I was 24 years old that time, and I was moonlighting, like going to office in the day, working for somebody else, and in the evening working for my own project and spending my own money for the project. So couple of months I worked on that. I sent my entry, and after the couple of days I received a phone call, and they say, we are calling from a press conference and you have been given the second award.
Okay.
And I asked, who is the person who has got the first? And so he was one of my teacher from my architecture college.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I felt very extremely proud of myself that time. I
Right.
was very young and I was not expecting. And in the morning, this phone call happened in the night, and then next day in the morning, I thought it's not possible. Somebody is playing prank on me.
Okay.
So anyhow, so then this project, what I designed, though it's a second award, and I went there to receive my award, and I brushed my shoulders with legendary architects there, the panel of jury, and the architect who has won the first prize. And
Is you
first of all,
because he was from your college?
pardon me.
I was asking, did he recognize you because he was from your college? He was your teacher.
Yeah, he recognized me because we in college we were very close. Our teachers and students, we share a very close bond.
Very nice.
But there, when we entered, and so they thought my father is the architect who has won the second prize, and I am just his son accompanying him. I was just in some shorts and like this, and my father said, "No, I am just accompanying him. He's the architect." And I was just 24 years old, and so that also gave me a direction that I can start my own practice.
Right. Gives you confidence. Yeah.
Gives me confidence. Yeah. So after that, I worked on some competitions, won some, lost some, but this is one which is very close to my heart.
Very nice. Okay.
And then immediately after that, I got some house to design from one of my father's colleague, and because it was my first project, which I actually designed and built, it's very close to me. And I want to tell you one thing. I designed for that person who was my father's colleague. Then I designed a house for his son, who is my age. He's a very close friend of mine. And I hope that when his son also designs house, I design for him also.
Kya baat hai? Very
This
nice.
is what I believe now.
That's very nice. Okay. So now let's move to your third stage of your life.
So, very important incident happened while I was still in college. As I told you, I spent a lot of time in college library. So I happened to read a magazine in 1990, and I read an article by some astrologer who has written that there's a 16-year boy whose name is Sachin Tendulkar who will break all the records in cricket. And he also wrote another article on Sanjay Manjrekar, who was supposed to be the next Gavaskar that time, and he was hitting centuries after centuries, and he was a big cricketer that time. And he wrote that this guy's cricketing career will be very short. And I didn't know ABC of astrology at that time, but this brief remained in my mind. So then, in 1993, I read another article written by some big astrologer about Shah Rukh Khan.
Okay.
And he had also predicted, and that time Shah Rukh Khan's this Bazigar was also, I think, was released, but still it was early days for him in 93. So he also explained that how the planets are placed, what is happening, and he will also become one of the most famous and successful actors in Bollywood. And later I started seeing that these things are happening. Tendulkar is doing very well, and Shah Rukh Khan is doing very well. And I started getting little bit interested in astrology, not too much, very little.
Again, the curiosity in you.
Yeah. And then in 1995, there was some person who visited one of our neighbors, and I was told that this person, you just sit with him and he will tell all your past, present, future. So just because of curiosity, I and my father went there. And So he started saying, okay, this is your past. He told everything, where I was born, what I work, what is my profession, what is about my father, what car we have, what is the car number, and what is going on in our life. He told everything. And he also told what is going for next couple of years, couple of weeks, couple of months, and what is happening. He told me for next 7 years.
Wow.
And he told me that next year in 1996, I am going to win a national award,
Oh,
which I told you. This
yeah. You already
competition
mentioned about
happened
that.
in 96. So when this thing happened in 96, I said, oh, this is something, if somebody can see future, it can give you, a blueprint of your life.
Right. Yeah.
So in 96, after that Shirdi competition, these three things, the dots started to getting joined.
Hmm.
Okay. And then I started exploring more about astrology.
Hmm. So when you say exploring, like you started reading books or meeting
Yes.
people?
I started reading books. That time there was no internet, but there was no Google at that time. So
Right.
I was just buying some books and reading some books and trying to make sense out of it. It was very difficult if you don't have a teacher. You are just trying to do. Plus, I am always been a science student, and mathematics was my most favorite. Physics and mathematics were favorite subjects. So I always saw things from a scientific point of view.
Right.
What are the calculations and how you see what is the logic behind this? So I kept doing, and it's a more you enter into it, you find that you know nothing. It's such a deep and such a vast ocean. Okay, so I'm still learning, and so what happened? So this is how the interest happened, and when you and I just restricted the astrology just on a predictive part because I thought this is the way to see in future. You
Right.
can predict. I didn't think anything other than that.
Uh,
So when I started learning after 2, 3 years, and you know what happens, you start looking at your own charts. Then your family members come. Your sister will ask, "Okay, tell me what is going to
मेरा भी
happen.
बता दो, हाँ.
Mera bhi bata do if I'm going to. When will I have kids? And what is happening?" Other people started sending their horoscopes to do the matchmaking. In my family itself and friends.
It involves a lot of math, right? Astrology.
Yes, there are a lot of mathematics into it. So I started learning, and then I started seeing that there was one incident. There's a science in astrology which is about relationships. That you can see that if you are, let's say, you are working in a project on a project with 2, 3 people, you can see if your compatibility is higher, there will be success in the project. But if there's no compatibility, the project will not happen.
Hmm.
This is somebody, some astrologer told me how to find out this. And I started seeing in my life that even if I am the common factor, I am the architect, but if I am doing a project with a certain person and the horoscopes are not compatible, then the project is not happening very smoothly. There are issues and problems. But on the other side, when the person is compatible, the things will happen very smooth.
Hmm.
So I started now, instead of predicting, my direction went to this thing, that how to use astrology to get a direction.
Hmm. Okay.
Don't, I mean, it doesn't matter to that you are getting married or not, or you are getting money or not, but you can just get directions. At that point of time, I started using this. So,
So I have one
like for
comment,
example,
Vivek.
yeah, please go ahead.
There's one comment from Kamal Kumar Pandya. He's asking, sir, may we know the name of books that you were reading for learning of astrology?
There are many books, and there's this one book by a legendary astrologer B.V. Raman. Then there's an astrologer, Mr. K.N. Rao, who established the School of Astrology also in Delhi. And there are a lot of classic books, okay, which were written in old times. And I will share the names in detail later. So one should always read classics, because the classics of astrology, they actually give you the actual picture. Instead of seeing from YouTube, one should not see YouTube at all.
Okay.
Okay, so there are good things also, but it can confuse you because there are a lot of things happening.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not commenting on the caliber. I'm not that capable to comment on astrologers' caliber, but one should go with the classics actually.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. So, thank you, Vivek, for the third stage of your life. And just to let you know that we have like about 20 minutes and we have two more stages of your life and
Right.
a surprise item, which I'm not going to tell anybody what it is. So, I would like you to pace your stage 4 and stage 5 accordingly.
Exactly. So uh, it is connected to astrology itself that because we are exploring, so we are also exploring what is our what is inside us. Okay, so astrology also can tell you what was your past. Okay, who are you? And spiritualism is exactly this: who are you?
That's right.
Science says what are you, spiritualism say who are you, who am I? So what happened that I started believing that our body is such an interesting piece of engineering that it is capable of healing itself. Okay, so why to take all these medicines which are prescribed? There must be some way. So then I started exploring more that they are like yoga. So I treat yoga not as just a gymnastic or exercise or whatever. Yoga means Sanskrit in it means union, the sum. So when you are living your life in union with the universe, I understand it is yoga. Okay, and there are many aspects. So you have a physical body. So physical body has needs. You have mind. Mind has needs. You have soul. Soul have needs. So, but what happened instead of needs, we start focusing more on wants. So I actually started getting detached from things. And I understood more I start getting detached because I have already understood my life path from astrology, which was helping me. So it was easier for me. And I started getting detached from a lot of things. So I have been focusing mostly on the needs, not on wants. So what happened when I started? My lifestyle changed, my eating habits changed, and I was never fat, but I lost a lot of weight. And being a Punjabi, everybody tells me, "यार कुछ तुम कुछ खाते पीते नहीं हो, or you look very weak." So, but I feel fantastic at this weight. So this helped me. I adopted a yogic diet since last couple of years, and so I was taking 2 meals in a day only, and then I'm not expert, so there, but I followed that this diet system, and then for mine I started reading positive things, good things, not getting and then mind is such a thing. When you see your neighbor, you will say, oh, this guy has a big car, why you don't have? So you buy a big car, then another neighbor buys a bigger car, and then you start feeling bad. So I actually came out of those things, and I don't feel anything for many years, more than 13-14 years, that I understood that everybody is different, unique, and nobody is in competition with anybody. Okay,
That's
so that's how I entered into this spiritualism, and a lot of questions start because in 2007 I had some health challenges, and so I started having all these things, and I improved a lot. So then I decided, then I moved to Bulgaria in 2013 after.
There was a question from Shoma Pandit. Why did you decide to move to Bulgaria of all the countries in the world? What were the challenges you had to overcome setting up a life there?
Okay, hello Shoma, how are you? It's a very interesting question. Uh, so I moved to Bulgaria because my wife is a Bulgarian national, and it was easy. See, when you get married, one person needs to move, and it was easier for me to move because I could handle all my work from Bulgaria.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that was the guiding factor. Challenges can be the language, but because my wife was there, so I didn't face a lot of challenges as a foreigner. Plus, another thing was it is a very cold country. The temperatures are in winters minus 24, minus 20. So that was one challenge. But I felt that it was more challenging for me to be in summers in Bulgaria.
Okay.
Because in Delhi, what happens? The temperature crosses 30 degree, you put air conditioner.
Right.
Okay, in winters, in Delhi, it is challenging in winters. Here it is opposite because all the houses are designed to tackle winters, not summers.
That's right.
So that was the only challenge. And I'm a vegetarian. So here, being vegetarian is very difficult. So if we go to a restaurant, I will see the full menu and I will order only one thing, which was like some salad or let's say some pizza margherita. So we stopped going to restaurants at all because I cannot eat anything. So that was the only challenge, nothing else.
Okay. Continue with your. So this was your fifth stage that you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened when I moved here? I made many friends, and they understood that I know a little bit of astrology. So they will come up and sharing things. And I saw that many people, they have same question. Everybody has the same question that when will I get married?
भविष्य बता दो मेरा बस.
मेरी शादी कब होगी? Okay. Or if I get a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. So, and people were not happy. I started seeing that people have a lot of lifestyle diseases, blood pressure, diabetes, and people were generally unhappy. And they were linking their happiness to conditions. That I will be happy when I will go to holidays. I will be happy when I will have a life partner. I will be happy when I go to restaurant. I will be happy. So what happens? It gives you a momentary satisfaction and pleasure. But once that activity is over, you start feeling sad again.
Right.
Because you're finding happiness outside.
Mm.
And plus, you should not find happiness at all. There's no need. There are so many emotions. All emotions should be in proportion.
Mm.
Okay. So then I started finding reasons why it is happening, why people are so unhappy. And this is the reason. They don't want to be in the house. They are searching outside. So I decided that personally also, and on some digital platform, I can create some platform where we will share a lot of issues, a lot of things which will cater to this body, mind, and soul, and the things which you told in the introduction.
Mm-hmm.
So when we started this for 1.5 years, 2 years, I was the only one who was sharing things there.
Which year?
It's on Facebook, this group.
Which year did you start this?
I started in 2018.
Okay.
It's 2 years. So 1.5 years, I was just sharing everything on my own, and there were 200, 300 people. Then in the start of 2020, I met many people who are like-minded, and they are also in some journey. And I believe now that every person in the world, in this journey of spiritualism, somebody is at some stage, somebody is at some other stage. We cannot compare, but everybody is in this pursuit. Okay. So when the like-minded people came, I understood that there are hundreds of people, thousands of people, and then different perspectives and different experiences started coming. So spiritualism is not what I think. It can be what you think. It can be what some other person thinks. And all roads lead to the same place, but the roads can be different. Their experiences can be different. Okay. So when we made this platform, so I saw that people have so many stories which transform them, help them. So there are two ways to look at this. Either you can just follow some star spiritual guru. Okay. Or if you're not comfortable, you can identify yourself with any person in the group. Hold the finger of this person, and this person will help you and guide you. Okay. So irrespective of whatever stage they are, it's like if you're at second grade, you are helping somebody who is at first grade. If you are at fifth grade, you are helping somebody who is in fourth grade.
Right.
Okay. So this is the purpose. And then I would just like to read one share from Majru Sultanpuri Sahib.
क्या बात?
मैं अकेला ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल. मैं अकेला ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल. लोग साथ आते गए और कारवां बनता गया.
क्या बात है, क्या बात है.
So that's how this whole thing happened, and so many people joined. There are members from 34 countries who are sharing. Some people are sharing, some people are absorbing. Everybody, it's a non-religious, non-political, non-profit platform, and where everybody is free to post their experiences, irrespective of whatever it is. It can be any direction, any religion. You post. Okay.
That's awesome.
So what happened then during the lockdown? There were a lot of time. I was at home mostly, and everybody else also. So I had a lot of time, and I decided that we can start. We can identify such people who are doing remarkable work, but silently. So they are not aware of what they are actually doing.
Mm.
So, and they are all my friends. And plus, I am not a professional host like you. So I decided that.
Professional host. This is out of my passion.
So I decided that, okay, we'll just for fun, we will start this Tree of Life platform where I will just interview my friends and give them a platform and share things and learn from them. Okay, I will also learn a lot of things from them during this. So then we started this on 8th of July, and we have covered 9 episodes, and it has been the fantastic journey. We never thought that what we started as just a fun project, it will actually become such a serious and big project. It happens every Wednesday.
That's
And
awesome.
on this, yeah, so the first series we had thought of 10 episodes. So this 9th of September, this is going to be the final episode, which we call finale. And then we'll take a break from this. But so much of learnings which have happened, and people are holding each other's hand, and people are from various things like holistic relationships, holistic wellness, Ayurveda, pet rescue, then landscape architecture, sustainable architecture, then chakra healing, and then spiritual psychology, then Krishna consciousness and
Wow.
meditation. So we have covered. It's not like a preaching session. It is just sharing of the life experiences.
Right, right. That's
So
awesome.
this was my 5th stage, which I'm currently working, and it is my vision now that going forward, see, as you told in the initial introduction, that every morning when I get up, I ask this question. Sometimes I get bored because I'm doing similar projects all the time. So I think, why am I doing? Okay. So then this answer comes that I am going to add a lot of value today to this project, to this client. And then in turn, when he will set up his venture, he will give employment to so many people and their families will be touched. So if I do it properly, I am going to touch, because I am an architect, I am designing. So this design is going to change lives of many people. So even if I am designing a house and there's a pet in the house, I take care of the needs of the pet. Okay, so I put myself in their shoes. I never impose my style, visual style. Every project looks different. But so this is one part, that whosoever I touch, whether I'm talking to somebody, or let's say, I hope when I'm talking today, I'm also touching some people's lives.
You are, yeah.
Yeah, so this is my only vision now. And going forward, I want to help people. I want to make this platform bigger and identify people who are adding value and give them this platform, and they can hold hands of people who want. And also I am looking forward to create a physical thing. Now it's because of pandemic, it's not possible, but this was my dream when things get sorted, that I want to create a physical place also, a physical platform also, to do all such things, so that people can live or they can be encouraged or inspired to live a meaningful life in union with the universe, the nature, and everything else.
That's very nice. So you mentioned that the Tree of Life is having its last episode this week. What after Tree of Life? Do you have something in mind?
Yes. I have collected a lot of material. So I need to sort this out, and so all these stories are right now in visual form, live form, and I need to create the highlights of that, so that people, it's a 1 hour show, people will not like to go through all this. So maybe some focal elements. I'm also planning to convert all this in some kind of a memoirs in writing. Okay. And then I am also, because I have received many applications for season 2.
Very nice.
People have approached me, so I'm also thinking to use this platform to bring other people, but not necessarily in spiritual, but anyway, when you're touching lives of people, it can be anything. But the agenda is that it's not a star show. It's only my friends who are doing some things to help people, no matter how, at what scale, what level. Even if they're touching one person's life, I will bring them to the next season.
That is awesome. That is very nice. So thank you very much, Vivek, for explaining each stage of your life wonderfully. This was really good. Now we have like 5 minutes left, and I know that you have a surprise item for our listeners and our viewers. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So I thought, first of all, I would like to thank you, Ashish, for having me on the show and giving me this platform to share my life journey. And also, I want to congratulate you that you are running such a excellent platform and helping people and doing such a wonderful job. Congratulations to you. And before we actually, and also the viewers who are watching this, a big thank you to all of you to take to have your time and watch me speak. So before
we must thank Anisha Singh for connecting us.
Oh, she's my schoolmate and wonderful soul herself.
Yes.
I've learned so much from her. And yesterday, this show which she had hosted with this doctor, the Ayurvedic doctor, was fantastic.
Loved it. Yeah.
So now 4 minutes are left. And before we go, I would like to end this show with a song, and which is very apt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I will just play some track, and let's see if I will try to sing. I'm not a professional singer, but just I'm using this platform.
क्या बात है?
चल के तुझे मैं लेके चलूं एक ऐसे गगन के तले, जहाँ गम भी ना हो, आंसू भी ना हो, बस प्यार ही प्यार पले। चल के तुझे मैं लेके चलूं एक ऐसे गगन के तले, जहाँ गम भी ना हो, आंसू भी ना हो, बस प्यार ही प्यार पले, एक ऐसे गगन के तले। सूरज की पहली किरण से आशा का सवेरा जागे, सूरज की पहली किरण से आशा का सवेरा जागे, चंदा की किरण से धुल कर घन घोर अंधेरा भागे, चंदा की किरण से धुल कर घन घोर अंधेरा भागे। कभी धूप खिले, कभी छाव मिले, लंबी सी डगर न खले, जहाँ गम भी न हो, आंसू भी न हो, बस प्यार ही प्यार पले, एक ऐसे गगन के तले। So सपनों के ऐसे जहां में जहां प्यार ही प्यार खिला हो, सपनों के ऐसे जहां में जहां प्यार ही प्यार खिला हो, हम जाके वहां खो जाए, शिकवा न कोई गिला हो, हम जाके वहां खो जाए, शिकवा न कोई गिला हो, कहीं बैर न हो कोई गैर न हो, सब मिल के यूं चलते चले, जहाँ गम भी न हो आंसू भी न हो, बस प्यार ही प्यार पले, एक ऐसे गगन के तले, आ चल के तुझे मैं लेके चलूं, एक ऐसे गगन के तले, जहाँ गम भी न हो आंसू भी न हो, बस प्यार ही प्यार पले, एक ऐसे गगन के तले, एक ऐसे गगन के तले, एक ऐसे गगन के तले।
बहुत खूब विवेक, बहुत खूब. That was just awesome. What a good way, what an interesting way to end the conversation. बहुत ही अच्छा लगा. So Vivek, we are at 12:01 here Eastern Time, which means we have come to the end of our program. Before we officially end this, last few words from you.
See, one message I would like to give to all our viewers, that don't look at things outside. Everything is inside you. Okay, just look deeper inside. And in these times, which are very challenging for everybody in the world, and many people have lost their lives, many people have lost their family members, these days will also pass. Don't lose hope. Sometimes when we give up, we are actually sitting on top of the success. So don't lose hope. Don't give up. Take care of each other. Maybe somebody has more resources. Some people have lost their jobs. Be kind to each other. These are the times not for profit, but for empathy and for compassion. These times will also pass.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vivek, for those words. So, listeners and our viewers, with that, we come to an end of our program, Rubaru with Vivek Verma tonight. So, until the next time, thank you very much and shukriya, dhanyawad.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत. बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
This is Bharat FM.